Well, hey, everybody. Happy Thursday and happy Christmas Eve. Let me move the camera over here. Dun, 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 dun. I'm going to try it actually over here. See what happens here. See what this looks like. Let's try something different today. There's the dartboard. Let's try something. Now you don't see the backdrop, though. Let's see. Let's go like where we usually go. Boring. Same spot. There we go. There we go. All set. Everything's back to normal. All right, let's do Mike in the Midwest, episode 79. It's our Christmas special. If it's special, let's do this. In fact, everything moved. I got to fix that back there. That got all ripped. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 79 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Happy Thursday. I'm Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast. Record this one here in the beautiful Be Our Guest podcast studios in St. Peters, Missouri on December 23rd, 2021. Shout out to Corwin of Amber, who is tuned in live as a recording on YouTube. Shout out. Merry Christmas to you. And we're going to have a fun show today, just kind of talking about what is going on and why this week is one of my favorite weeks of the year. And then we're going to get into the Sears Wishbook from 1988. We're going to get into the toys. Last week, we kind of whetted your appetite with some of the stuff that was in that 1988 Sears Wishbook from the beginning of the book, which was the stuff that as you were a kid, you kind of had to thumb your way through. You got through it. And some of it was interesting, like watches, maybe a Pee Wee Herman watch or an NFL watch or a video games watch. Some of the clothes, I was a kid that I hated clothes. When I got clothes for a gift when I was, a kid, that was like the worst, unless it was like a football Cardinals like sweatsuit, because we called them the football Cardinals back when I was a kid, because if you, well, you probably don't know, but unless you're from St. Louis, we had two Cardinal teams, professional teams in our town. We had the St. Louis Cardinals and the St. Louis Cardinals. One was the baseball team, which is still here. And then the football team was also the St. Louis Cardinals, which is kind of confusing. And as a kid, it was kind of like my love for Mizzou. If you've listened to the podcast for any length of time, which if you're a patron, I'm sure you have, you know that I am a diehard Mizzou fan. Mizzou has many more defeats than we do victories in the history of my life. And we've had some hard victories. Some hard defeats in the history of my life. Nebraska, there was a play in the end zone where a football hit off a guy's foot and they beat us in the craziest way possible. UCLA in basketball, crazy play all the way down last second, beat us on a layup. Tyus Whitney, I think that was. There's just been some terrible victories. Last night, for example, Army beat us on the last play of the game in our bowl game. Shout out to Army. Good game. It's rough being a Mizzou fan. It was the same way being a football Cardinals fan. We had okay teams, but we could never win the big game. We could never make the playoffs. But still, you rooted for your hometown team. And so as a kid, we always wore our football Cardinals stuff. And I still to this day am fond of the look of the Cardinals logo, the Arizona Cardinals uniforms with that certain color, that shade of red that they have, that cardinal red. And that bird on the side of their helmet just looks kind of mean, that cardinal bird. And it just kind of reminds me of my childhood. And it reminds me, again, this is Mike in the Midwest. It's about memories of growing up here in St. Louis, of the one Christmas that my cousin, my younger cousin, I'm the oldest of the four grandkids, and the second oldest, my cousin Chris, whose son just was in the rodeo that I talked about a couple weeks ago, that won the money roping out in Vegas. He and I got matching. This was when I was probably, I would guess I was like 8 and he must have been like 5. Somehow my grandparents got us matching Cardinal jogging outfits. So we had little red jackets and little red sweatpants, and they had like a little patch on them that had the Cardinal logo. The pants had stripes on the side that matched, and it said, had the Cardinal logo on the front of the pants. To be honest, I kind of still dress like that because I work from home, but now it's Mizzou instead of football Cardinals. So who'd have known that 40 years later, I'm still dressing like that? But we have a picture of us because that year, that was one of my favorite gifts. And my grandpa, who again, my hero, very blue collar construction guy, very blue collar. He worked in the trades. He was a cement mason and was always tinkering in his garage. He made both my cousin and he made us both tool belts, like work belts. And he fashioned them out of leather and he gave them to us. Cause again, you couldn't buy these at the store because they were kid size. Again, we were like maybe 7 and 5, or I can't remember how we're little in the picture. I got to find that picture. My dad has it somewhere, I think. But we're standing in the foyer of my grandma's house, and we got our tool belts and our jogging suits on, our Cardinal jogging suits. But we didn't just get the tool belt; it also had like a little kid-size hammer hanging from our tool belt. We had nails in the nail pouch. We had like a little working pencil, that kind of flat pencil that the construction workers use. We had all the tools that Grandpa had in his tool belt, just miniature size, and we thought we were the stuff. I mean, that picture, you should just see the looks on our faces. Like yep, we're athletes. We have Cardinal jogging suits on. And yes, we could go drywall your basement if you need us to, or we could lay a roof. I mean, we are ready for any action. Like we could just jump into a football game if we need, need a running back. We're good. You need a wide receiver right here, quarterback. Let's go. You need somebody to tar that driveway. We can do that too. After the game, let's go. So fun times, but I got to find that picture because, looking back, I think, when you're, 8, 9 years old, 7, 6 years old, I can't even remember how old I was. You don't know the moment. I mean, you're not going to, you're a kid, but when you hit to be your mid 40s and you kind of think about the context of that, grandma had to go out and find, I'm sure grandma did the shopping for the Cardinal sweatsuits, and she had to go out and find 2 suits that matched of the right size, and they did fit. And that was pretty cool. And then grandpa had to, we had these tool belts, but he had to go out. He actually physically made these out of leather out in the garage. And then he had to go, I'm sure, to like Central Hardware. Cause back in the day, we didn't have Lowe's and Home Depot. We had more local, hardware stores locally owned, and pick up, some kid sized hammer, which probably wasn't as easy to find back then. Couldn't just go on Amazon and get it shipped to you tomorrow. So, there was a lot of love in that gift. And I don't think you realize it at the time, but looking back, it was a blessing that my grandparents were so sweet and that they made that memory. And then somebody took the picture and that we have it. And I don't know where the picture is, but I have the picture in my mind, but I'll try to find it because I got to say, my cousin Chris and we look pretty good in that picture. It's pretty funny, man. There's a look on our face, man. We were so happy that we had that. All right. So what's going on in your life here? A couple days before Christmas. Christmas Eve is tomorrow. Hope you're doing well. Hope your Christmas presents are at this point under the tree, wrapped and getting ready to dish out to everybody. Just a heads up on the podcast tomorrow, actually later this evening, you'll get the release of the Be Our Guest podcast tradition, which is Be Our Guest or Christmas Eve in the Be Our Guest podcast studios. So we have an actual, we have 2 different things this year. We updated it with 2 new additions to the Christmas Eve and the Be Our Guest podcast studios show for you. One, I thought it was only appropriate that we ask hashtag Scotty G to join us in the studios for the gift exchange this year. I don't know about you guys, but this is me, and this is just me. I think Scott has added a lot to the podcast over the past year. Scott never asked to be a part of the show. He's just a good buddy of mine, and we met. You guys might not even know how Scott and I met. He just signed up to go on one of the podcast cruises. I think either 3 or 4, one like podcast cruise 3 or podcast cruise 4. And he came on the podcast cruise and we just kind of clicked. His daughter was the same age as my daughter. Emily and Mallory hit it off. Scott and I hit it off. Elizabeth and my wife, Pam, kind of hit it off. And we had a lot in common. Scott's a little bit younger than me, about 10 years younger than me, but I try to act young and try to stay cool. I don't know if I do a good job of that. My daughters probably say I don't, but we're just good friends and we have a good time when we're together. We always try to stay Scott's one of the most positive people I know. He would help out anybody that needed anything. He'd give you the shirt off his back. He's just one of the best guys you could ever meet. He's a super good friend. And the thing is about Scott is he knows his stuff when it comes to Disney, just like nobody else. And he's got a lot of different experiences. You know, he's done cruises, but he's also a Disney Vacation Club member, which I'm not. So he has a different perspective on things like that. He tends to eat more of the signature restaurants where I tend to, I'm like a Casey's and Pecos Bills and, that kind of a guy. So we have different experiences. And I think that Scott really does add a different level to the podcast when he comes on. And I like that we've been able to add his voice to the show over the past year, here and there. And I hope you guys have enjoyed having his perspective on the show. So that's one thing. I just think it's nice to have a new voice every now and then. And I do consider him a fourth person on the panel. And I think you'll be hearing more of him. I hope that you guys enjoy that because he does, and he's very well spoken too. And he does a good job with podcasting, even though he never asked to come on the show. He never, said, "Can I be on the show?" I said, "You know what? Hey, let's talk Disney. Come on the show. It'll be fun." So I've kind of tried to wrangle him into that. So hope you've enjoyed that. But he's in the studios with us. We exchange gifts with Ricky and Pam and Scott. Of course, all in fun. But also we bring in Santa, Disney Santa this year. And we all four get to sit on Disney Santa's lap and ask for one thing to make our next Disney trip better. So you get to find out what one thing we would ask Disney Santa for when it comes to the Disney universe. So what would that be for you? Put it in the comments if you have a few minutes this week, and we'll read those next week. That'd be kind of fun for the feedback. If Disney Santa said, "Ho ho ho, patron, what would you like for Christmas? We're gonna do this at Walt Disney World to make your next Disney vacation better." I'll give you a hint. I'll let you know what I asked for. I asked simply for a nighttime parade. And I said, if we can put man on the moon, surely we can put a nighttime parade in the theme parks again. I know the parks are crowded, but you can't tell me the parks were empty in 2006. We had Tapestry of Nations at Epcot, and it was incredible. We can't do that again. We had Spectro Magic in the Magic Kingdom, and it was amazing. It's impossible to do that again? I think not. Hard? Maybe. Impossible? Not. So that's kind of stuff we did. So put in the comments below, what one thing would you ask Disney Santa for this Christmas season to make your next Disney vacation better, or just to make your Disney dreams come true? Let's make this truly Disney. So I'd love to hear that. And we'll share those next week. All right. So last week we talked about the Sears Wishbook. Before we get to that, though, because I'm going to get to the comments, I do want to talk about just for a few minutes why this is my favorite week of the year. I love this time of the year. This week and next week, kind of this closing out of the year. There's a few reasons why I love this time of the year. Now, first of all, I used to really love this week of the year, this last 2 weeks, because as a school teacher, no work. That was always the jam, right? Because you work hard, from September. Actually, here in the Midwest, you go back to school in August. You work from August until right before Christmas. Then you get those 2 weeks off, and you're just like, "Whew, God, made it! Thank goodness." And that's when, as a school teacher, that's when you would actually start your Christmas shopping because you had time off, and for a few days, most of the world was still working. This was before COVID, and everybody worked at home. Most of the world was still working, and you could kind of have your free reign at the stores. Now anymore, October on a Wednesday, the stores are crowded. It doesn't matter anymore. The last couple of years, everybody's schedules, nobody's at work ever. It feels like, because everybody works weird hours. But back then that was kind of like, okay, we're out of school. Now I can do shopping. Nobody's off yet until like the day before Christmas Eve, like today. So anyway, that was always exciting. Now I work as a travel agent. So now I do work just about every day of the year. Just for my guests at the Magic for Less, I will not be working on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. Taking those days off to be with the family, unless there's an emergency, but I will not be checking emails and stuff like that, just to have some family time. But I will say I get excited for this week and next week. One is because once you have a kid in college, it's exciting to know that they're coming home. And I know that it sounds kind of strange because Paige has already graduated from her undergrad. She's graduated from her master's program, and now she's in her second master's program. But she's working for Mizzou basketball, as I talk about quite frequently. I'm very proud of her, as a dad should be, I think, stepdad. She is a grad assistant for Mizzou women's basketball, which means if you watch any of the Mizzou women's basketball games, you can check them out on the SEC network. If you have SEC network, you can see her. She sits on the bench and she usually has the clipboard in her hand. She's down on the end and she's always, well, lately, I don't know why. I think she has good vision, but she's been wearing glasses lately. So you'll see her sitting on the bench with her permed hair. And she's a grad assistant for the basketball team, has been for the last 2 years. So Mizzou men and women basketball had what's called bragging rights games yesterday. And that's where Mizzou plays against Illinois. It's one of our rivals. We've done this for decades. And typically Mizzou beats Illinois, but our men's basketball team's terrible, so we got smoked. But our women's team took care of the Fighting Illini yesterday out in Champaign. But the important thing about that is that after the game, Paige got to drive home from Champaign and she got to come home. She gets to be home until the 26th. So we get to have Paige home for like 3 or 4 days, which is it's so cool. It's so great. Now it would have been longer, but because of COVID's resurgence, they have to go back on the 26th because the team and the staff and everybody has to be tested 6:30 in the morning on the 26th for COVID. And they have to keep getting tested because their next game is where SEC basketball play starts on the 30th against South Carolina. So if it wasn't for COVID, she'd get to stay home a few extra days, but the world is what it is. And we're just thankful that we get to see her here for the weekend. So it's an exciting time when your kid gets to come home and spend time, with the family. Plus, little bonus and a little selfish thing here. Have I ever told you that I'm the world's worst shopper when it comes to Christmas? So the good news is when you have a great wife, the wife takes care of all the Christmas shopping for the daughters because you're terrible and your wife knows that. So my wife loves shopping. So she's gotten all the girls' presents, all this stuff. It's getting wrapped. She started wrapping it a couple nights ago. It's under the tree. It's looking good. But of course, I got to shop for Pam. Everybody's gone right now. This is why I'm recording Mike in the Midwest right now. They all went to the store right now to get stuff. They're going to make Christmas cookies in just a little bit. So they had to go get the ingredients at the grocery store. Another reason I love this week, Christmas cookies. But anyway, so Paige gets home late last night after the basketball game. She drove home. And so I start texting her. I'm like, okay, here's my ideas for your mom. My credit card's in my wallet. It's in the kitchen. And so this morning she got up early and she killed it. She slayed it because I told her like ideas. She's like, those are good ideas. Yes, you're pretty good this year. You're doing all right. But then she went and picked out like the perfect versions of the things I was thinking about. Like I had an idea, but she took it and went way better on each of the things I was thinking of. So I think Santa's gonna be good to Pam on Christmas morning, which she should be, because as every husband should say, I have the world's best wife, and I truly believe that I do have the world's best wife, and I think every husband should think that his wife is the best. But I'm very lucky for that. But I hope that she is blown away and happy with the things I got, and I hope she thinks they're thoughtful. They might not be the most expensive things in the world, but hopefully they're from the heart and they're things that she wants and needs, and will be useful to her. But I'm excited for that. But it's great when you have a daughter that's 25 that can jump out and get into the madness of the shopping and know where to get all these things. Because I knew what I wanted to get. But some of these stores, like a single guy going in there to shop, you just don't know what you're doing. I'm just saying, not to be sexist or anything, but I just don't know. I know that she wants these things, but I don't know exactly like how you go about buying these things because I don't shop. And I don't think you can buy some of these things online, at least not at this point. It's way too late in the game. So Paige killed it earlier today. I think everything's set. There's one more thing that I got to go to a boutique. And so I'm going to try to borrow Mallory. Mallory's my boutique kind of girl. There's a boutique here in the town next to us called Cottleville. So we're going to go over there and look for something called a shacket, which, okay. Again, this is why I'm terrible at shopping. It's a shirt/jacket combination kind of thing, which I think is popular now. I don't know. I just wear sweatshirts. So Mallory's going to give me guidance on that. And then I think my shopping will be done. And the good news is the girls will wrap. Because I'm a terrible rapper. I'm not a rapper like Biz Marquee. I just can't wrap Christmas presents like the waitresses. So anyway, we'll get that wrapped and everything will be good. So right now I love it because the pressure's kind of off. Like the presents are purchased and now I can kind of really start to enjoy this week. Another reason I enjoy this week is I hate to say this, but like for the last week, college football during the week in the afternoon. God bless America. I don't care who's playing. If it's a school like Tulsa or Western Kentucky or Kent State, I don't care. Bowl games are awesome because you get to see these fun Idaho Potato Bowl, the Jimmy Fallon Bowl. It doesn't matter. As long as there's college football on a Tuesday afternoon at 2:00 in the afternoon, God bless America. That's wonderful. There's going to be a football game on here in just a second. I can't wait to turn it on. Doesn't matter to me. I love college football. And the fact that like this last couple of weeks, there's a football game on every single day, college football game on every single day of the week makes Mike a very happy guy. I love it. So it's awesome. Also, I just love Christmas and I love the excitement of it. I love seeing the countdowns on social media. I always love monitoring Twitter and Instagram, and I love seeing what everybody's doing. People wrapping presents, people talking about last minute mall runs. I see the stress, but I like to see the anticipation of the big day. I love it all. So I hope that whatever you're doing, that you are still enjoying this week. I know it's stressful. And I know that, there's a lot to do probably in the next 48 hours, especially if you're a parent. And if you're not a parent, and if you don't have a lot of stuff going on, because I know Omicron and all the COVID stuff's happening, I've seen folks on Instagram and Twitter say that, Christmas plans have been modified or canceled. I'm thinking of you, man. If you don't get to go see your loved ones, reach out via social media, reach out Zoom or call or whatever. Yeah, I'm sorry if that happened. And I hope that you still have a good Christmas and hope that you are still able to virtually experience Christmas with those you love, even if it's not face to face. I hope that you can still have some kind of a modified, wonderful Christmas because you deserve it. Don't isolate yourself. Please don't. And you know what? I think I told this about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The worst Christmas that I was going into, and I still remember it. It was Christmas Eve 2002. It was going to be my first Christmas by myself, my first Christmas Eve by myself after my grandparents passed. I was not with anybody. I was single at the time, and it was just going to be. And I love Christmas Eve. I love Christmas Eve, and this was not. This is going to be the one where I sat at home and didn't know what to do. And Pam, the teacher next door, invited me over to her parents. She said it's going to be crazy, but if you can endure crazy, come on over to my parents' house. We have food, we have drinks, and we have fun. We have lots of presents. We have lots of kids. But if you want to come over, you're more than welcome. Big snowstorm that night, huge snowstorm that night. Said, but if you want to try to come on over, come on over. And I did. I jumped in my Jeep, couldn't find the street, but I drove over. And, best Christmas Eve of my life when it was going to be the worst. So you never know what's in store for you. And I hope it's the best Christmas for you ever. I truly do, because I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. And I hope that you do have the best Christmas ever. And by the way, speaking of, one other thing, because this show is just about me rambling all the time, right? I was talking with Pam and Ricky and Scott before we started recording the Christmas Eve show that you're going to hear tomorrow. None of them had ever heard of the book, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, or seen the movie with Loretta Swit, Hot Lips from MASH. Now, I read this book to my students every year when I was an elementary school teacher, and Pam still does to this day. With the Herdmans, it is one of the greatest Christmas stories ever, modern Christmas stories, the best Christmas pageant ever. Back me up. If you've heard of this or read this, or if you had a teacher read it to you, or if you're a teacher and you read it to your kids, or you read it to if you're a parent and read it to your kids, please let me know in the comments that you've heard of this story and that you've read it or seen the movie, because I showed the movie to my kids and I read the book to my kids when I was a teacher. I love this story because it's slightly irreverent, but it has such a good message. It's got a heartfelt message. The best Christmas pageant ever. If you're looking for a last minute Christmas movie, you're welcome. Okay, real quick. Let's hit the feedback from last week's Sears Wishbook, because I want to make sure we do that. And then we will hit some of the highlights from the toys, and then we'll get out of here and let you get ready for Santa Claus. Carrie Good says, I used to love the Sears catalog. My brother and I would flip through it at my grandparents' house for hours and hours, of course, marking what we wanted. That's exactly what I did with my cousins. There were 4 of us, myself, Chris, Derek, and my sister Jill. We all had different color highlighters, and we would circle like letter F, and we'd, with a different color. My grandma had to know what color we had. I think I was always green. Maybe that's why the lizards are green. I don't know, but that's what we did. Thanks, Carrie, for being a patron. Merry Christmas to you. Jonathan Humphrey, I got a Denver Broncos starter jacket from a Sears catalog outlet store in the late 80s. I still have it despite repeated attempts by my wife for me to get rid of it. It was a bit big back then, but fits me now. Jonathan, that starter jacket is probably worth $1 million right now. I've heard that the starter jackets are like the thing. They're like vintage now and that people want those things. So tell your wife to put that thing in a glass case. Do not lose it. And that is awesome. I would love to have a starter jacket that I had back in the 80s. Oh my gosh. So, Jonathan, thank you for being a patron. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Nicole Rice is here. She says the Sears catalog was a Christmas staple in our house. We used to pick one up at St. Clair Square. Oh my gosh, St. Clair Square. That was right. I used to speed skate in Belleville, which was about a 45 to 50-minute drive from where I lived. And I have to go right past St. Clair Square. And actually, I DJ'd across the street at a Ramada Inn. Their bar had a nightclub called Corvettes. Yep, I was the house DJ right across the street there. Anyway, she says she'd go to St. Clair Square and immediately start marking what we wanted. Amazon has started printing a toy catalog now, so it must be an effective marketing tool, even in 2021. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, Nicole. And thank you for bringing up St. Clair Square. Yes, the water tower out in the parking lot. That's how you know where you are, right there on I-64 and 159 in beautiful Belleville, Illinois. Mr. Chris Armstrong, thank you for being a patron. Merry Christmas to you. Mike, great episode. Brings back some memories. Wanted to make a comment here for the Christmas episode you did for the podcast. Best way to get the Christmas tree at Wilderness Lodge and people in your picture is to use the pano mode on the iPhone. If you turn the phone sideways, you can take a pano photo up instead of side to side and get everything in the picture. Hope this helps for framing pictures of large scale. Thank you. I would have never. I take panoramic pictures on my iPhone, but I've never thought to put it on its vertical side. Why have I never thought about it? I've never, ever done that, but that makes sense. Oh my gosh. Now I'm going down in a few weeks and I'm trying that. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Merry Christmas to you. And thank you for your service. And okay. So we got one more comment. Let's see here over on the audio feed. And it is from, we got two. Let's see, Peter Shannon, my good friend up in Canada. Go Blue Jays. The Sears Wishbook was always a highly anticipated favorite before Christmas. I spent hours going through it, circling favorites, sometimes in hopes of catching my mom's attention, but mostly it was because it was just a fun thing to do. Hope you and your family have a wonderful Christmas, Mike. All the best in 2022. Cheers, Peter. Peter, Merry Christmas to you and happy 2022. Thank you so very much for being a patron and supporting all we do. It is appreciated. And my friend Dennis Keithley down in Texas. Merry Christmas, Dennis. Thank you for supporting the show. Your story about losing your jacket and how technology gets in the way really hit home with me. While at the Star Wars Rival Run weekend in 2019, that is still the hardest thing to say. I want to sound like Elmer Fudd. I lost my wallet at the expo. After retracing my steps and still being unable to find it, I was told to use their electronic lost and found. Every hour on the hour, I got a text and email saying they still hadn't located my wallet. The next day I went back to the expo and stopped by the lost and found. They had my wallet there. For the next 2 days, I still got a text and email alerts that they were still looking for my wallet, but hadn't found it yet. And that there was still no way for me to tell them it was good and that I had it. I'm enjoying the review of the Wishbook. That is a fun time capsule you're flipping through. Yes. I hear you, Dennis. So I did get my coat back about 2 days ago from Wisconsin, and they squished it into a little bitty box, but I'm glad to have it back because it's cold. Well, it's actually warm now, but it was cold a couple days ago. And but my hat is missing because I had my good Mizzou hat, which is the one the football players got from Nike. Paige snagged me one out of the athletic department. It was in the pocket and it's missing. So I guess I'm just glad to have my coat back. I can't complain. Okay, quickly, let's jump into the toys from the Sears Wishbook. There's one thing I wanted to lead off with. If you're looking at the 1988 Sears Wishbook on wishbookweb.com, so if you go over to wishbookweb.com, go to the 1988 Sears Wishbook, I want you to mark this page 308 on the Wishbook pages, not on the pages like that are scanned, but on the Wishbook page, because there is something for a Disney fan like you, and it is incredible. It's 308 and 309. It's a Main Street town square replica playset for kids. And I've been looking at this thing for like 30 minutes. It is spot on. It's got Cinderella Castle, it's got the Emporium, it's got the barber shop, it's got the firehouse, it's got the horse-drawn trolley, it's got City Hall, it's got the Christmas tree right in this spot in the middle of town square. It's got the train, and I mean the train cars look exactly authentic. The locomotive and the Tinder car. This thing, I don't know if anybody has this thing, but I mean the detail. It's got the theater where Tony's is. It's got the La Chateau. I mean, if you go to this page, and I'm telling you, go to wishbookweb.com, go to the 1988 Sears Wishbook, go to pages 308, 309, and just look at this thing. It is crazy how accurate they got Main Street USA at the Magic Kingdom. It is unbelievable. It looks like something that you would buy, like Walt Disney World, like in Main Street. Let's see if I can see how much this thing was. Let's see. I can zoom in here. It looks like, let me go to the other page because that's like the accessories. A lot of the accessories, like $11, $10 for like some of the people. Let's see how much the buildings were. So it's like $40 for the town square replica. Let's see. Yeah, and they're not much. I mean, let's see. How much is the train? 11. I mean, this stuff is so inexpensive that I can't even imagine. It's $50 for the train. Like that train would be probably $500. But I'm just saying, go to those pages. I'm not kidding. You will be blown away by how amazing this and how detailed and how accurate this Main Street replica set is. Okay, quickly get into some of the toys. There's a lot of Disney stuff. One of the things that came across with the Disney stuff, you remember those inflatable Punchables? I had these when I was smaller. They would like have sand in the bottom. This one's a Tigger. They had a Pooh Bear. They had all kinds of characters. And you would just punch them as a kid. They're inflatables, but they had sand in the bottom. You just punch them and they come right back up. I forget what they're called, like Weeble Wobbles or something. But you just like punch them and boom, they come right back. They had a lot of those in this catalog, which I always had. For some reason, I had those. I don't know if my parents were trying to turn me into a boxer or what. Sleeping bags of all sorts. There's lots of Disney sleeping bags. I would have taken Mickey Mouse, or there was a Dukes of Hazzard sleeping bag. What was your sleeping bag of choice when you were a kid? Another page, I'm going 10 pages at a time and just kind of clicking on random stuff. There's a lot of stuff for toddlers, like there's a cash register, so you can pretend like you're playing grocery store. And back then, remember, this is 1988. It was a big deal to have an electronic display in your cash register, and it had like a little scanning light. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I think I talked about this when I talked about grocery stores from back when I was growing up. I remember the first time we went to the grocery store and they had that thing where you scanned, where the checker would just like take the item, like the loaf of bread or the canned good, and just scan it over, just like slide it over and it go beep. Like that was magic when I was a kid. This little checking cash register has that and it just beeps. But like I remember the first time they did that and it would pop up, like the cashier go whoop and it would just beep and it would pop up on the screen what it was. That was magic when I was a kid. That's how old I am. That was magic. Let's see what else do we have here that looks interesting. There's some Barbie dolls. My sister had so many. Cabbage Patch Kids. Oh my gosh, my mom almost got in a fight at Target one time trying to get my sister one. Here we go. Remote control cars. I loved my RC car when I was a kid. My friend Ryan, he had his RC car. I had an RC car. He lived in a place where there were woods behind his house. And so after this was in middle school, probably 7th grade, we would go out into the woods behind after school and we would make little mini tracks, like little tracks with jumps, and we had sticks that we would have to go over and we'd race these things. Oh man, we had a good time with our RC cars because they had little rubber tires that had air in them and they did pretty good. But the thing I always wanted was an RC airplane because they always advertised these things, but I'm sure they didn't fly well. But yeah, my old RC car. And it was funny because back in the day, I don't know if they still do this because I know they have like RC, like adult racing and stuff, but it would say like simulated 200 miles per hour, like to scale. I mean, ours were fast. I mean, don't get me wrong. They went fast. They didn't go 200 miles an hour, but they were fun. All right, we're going a little long, but let's see what else we can find. Oh my gosh, there's this whole NFL souvenir page, so you can trick out your bedroom, and it has pennant. So you pick your favorite team, but what you can do to trick out your bedroom is you can pick a pennant, which they're awesome. So I picked my St. Louis Football Cardinals pennant. It's got a metal trash can, a like a wooden bench that has the team logo. It's got a banner that you hang over your bed. I also like the Denver Broncos back then with that old blue helmet with the orange D and the white Bronco horse in the middle of the D. Yeah, that screams when I was a kid. Oh my gosh, that'd have been a cool bedroom. Casio keyboards. I had a Casio keyboard that had all the where you push a button and it would give you kind of to give you like a beat to play the music to. The problem was I wasn't very musical. I didn't know how to read notes. So I played around with my Casio keyboard, but wasn't very good. Little air hockey tables. I had one of those when I was a kid. We had a lot of fun with that until we broke it because we always played too rough. Board games. I'm looking at Pictionary, Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, Electronic Battleship. Picture this, LA Law, the game. Let's see here. Top Secret. What other ones are there? Finders Keepers. Remember that old game show on Nickelodeon? Jenga. Yes, good games. Oh, the Atari 7800 game system for $89.99. It says the popular Atari 2600 game system is small and portable for fun-filled action wherever you go. You know how much Atari 2600 cost in 1988? $49.99. That is ridiculous. What else do we have? The Atari X. Let's see. On the other page, we have something called the Atari XE video game system. $149.99. I've never heard of that system. It's got a light gun, and it looks like it has cartridges, but it also has a keyboard and a joystick. It's kind of a gray color, but it's got like the 2600 joystick. Then, of course, you got all the electronic handhelds. What else do we have in the video games? Oh, there we go. Mario. You got Mario. Let's see. I don't see the Nintendo system, though. I see the games. Zelda. Oh, my gosh. Such cool stuff. Well, we're kind of running long, and I don't want to keep you too long, but man, are these not memories from back in the day? Starting lineup, little miniature figures, Sammy Sosa, Ryan Sandberg. What's for the Chicago Bears, the quarterback? Who was that? The guy with the bandana that had the bad eye. That was 1985. Who's the quarterback? Okay, now I got to zoom in. Number 2. What was his name? How can I not remember his name? Number 2. Where is it? I can't find him. What's his name? The guy that was a quarterback for the Bears in 85. He had a hurt eye. He did the Super Bowl shuffle. Jim McMahon. That's who it is. Jim McMahon, right? Is that right? I think it is. All right. Well, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this kind of fun talk about why this is the best week of the year, this week and next, what's going on in our lives, and some fun toys from 1988. And you got to check out that replica of Main Street USA. It is a hidden treasure. Page 309, Sears Wishbook, 1988, wishbookweb.com. Go there right now. But until we get back together again, I hope that you have a wonderful Christmas and a great Christmas, that you get to spend it with friends and family. If it's virtual, it's virtual. Hopefully it's in person. You get to hug everybody and get to tell them that you love them and that you get to spend time with them. I appreciate you guys so very much. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for supporting all we do. I cannot thank you enough for that. Until we get back together again, stay safe, stay healthy, and Merry Christmas.